Hello everyone, welcome back to another Doctor Who action figure review. In today's Doctor action figure review, I'm taking a look at one of the newly released B&M sets for 2024, the History of the Daleks set 18, Resurrection of the Daleks. I'll be taking a look at both variants of the set with the plain grey slat drone Dalek and the one with the silver slats, and we'll be doing a usual packaging, articulation, detail and a comparison to all the other 80s grey Daleks as well, from the Death Zone Dalek to the original FP Resurrection Daleks as well. So without further ado, let's take a look at the packaging. Packaging wise for the History of the Daleks set 18, yes, I think this proves that the whole numbering system is completely out of the window. So I thought I'd show you the packaging for both sets so you can see what each Dalek variant looks like. So if you're sort of umming and ahhing about each variant, to sort of spot them. So this is the one with the plain grey slats, and then this is the one with the silver slats. So you can see it's pretty easy to distinguish them both there. So if we take a look at the actual box, so we've got the traditional History of the Daleks set box that we've seen for the past year now. So we've got Doctor Who, the TARDIS, and we've got the 5th Doctor style guide packaging colour with the blue vortex. Resurrection of the Daleks, the year of the story. Features the Supreme Dalek, Grey Drone Dalek, and the Scale of Figures limited edition. History of the Daleks set 18. The side of the box, and on the back of the box we've got a bio on Resurrection of the Daleks. No little info on the Dalek prop history. It's just a straight sort of synopsis of Resurrection of the Daleks, and then the other side of the set there. And there we have it. That is the packaging. The Daleks out of their box, they're ready to board the prison ship. So let's take a look at the articulation. Articulation wise for the Daleks, so we should all know this by now, the dome can do a full 360 degree turn. The eye stalk can go up and down, and the plunger is ball jointed, and same with the exterminator gun as well. And of course the Dalek is on wheels, so they can patrol around looking for Davros. Detail wise, we're going to kickstart this review with the Supreme Dalek because, you know, he's the Supreme, so, you know, he's the most important, I guess. Sorry, Drone Daleks. But I think that this is a very exciting figure for a lot of people, because this only had one release back in 2011 in the Forbidden Planet 4-pack, and this was going to get another release in the Sound Effects Dalek line. I think there was going to be like a Supreme Dalek wave, but of course that never saw the light of day, and obviously B&M skipped over a set last year, so a lot of people were panicking, going, where's Resurrection of the Daleks? Well, here it is. So let's take a look at the detail, then we'll do a comparison to the original release. So this Dalek Supreme has been given this lovely glossy black finish, and I think that it should maybe be a bit more of a satin finish to it, but I have to say I really like this glossy black finish to the Dalek. I think that it's really striking, and it really does pop against sort of the white of the hemispheres really, and the silver of the mesh. So yeah, if we take a look at the detail, so we take a look at the dome light. So we've got the Mini Cooper dome light, so you can see the nice ridging effect, and that's been given a black trim which really helps sort of accentuate and highlight the dome light on this sculpt, so it doesn't get lost against the glossiness of the Dalek. Then we have the Resurrection eye stalk, which has been painted very nice and clean. We move to the neck bin section, which has been given the traditional mesh detailing. I think the mesh on the Resurrection Supreme, it's a bit hard to tell. I think it should be silver, but of course Resurrection of the Daleks Supreme you kind of only see in sort of the red lighting in the sort of, I guess, control room of the ship, and then only at the end in sort of the TARDIS scanner. But I believe that the mesh on the neck bin section should be sort of a silver, the same sort of silver what's in the, in between the actual mesh. But you know what? I think it works just fine as it is, to be honest. Speaking of the mesh, so we've got the traditional slat detailing with the rivets and the bolts, and of course that nice sort of mesh effect which has been given that silver, this nice sort of shiny silver, which really, again, nice sort of reflective silver that really does pop against the glossy black of the actual Dalek. And then if we move down to the front of the Dalek, we've got the little flipper, what's been painted with a sort of nice little orange tip, which I think, again, really complements. It's a nice little pop of colour on this Dalek. And again, we move down to the hemispheres. Now the skirt section is wrong. This Dalek uses the Madame Two Swords prop, but you know what? Character aren't going to do accurate sort of skirt section. And to be honest, I'm completely fine with them doing this. It's just a little observation. But yeah, really nice sort of clean paint apps on the white hemispheres. There's no paint bleed, so it's all lovely. And then one of my favourite features of the History of the Daleks set is the dry brushing of the skirt section. That's sort of to give it a nice sort of metallic scuffing effect, which I really love, and I think that is really striking. Again, it pops against sort of the glossy black of the Supreme, but yeah, really lovely finish to that. So that is the detail for the Supreme Dalek. Let's compare it to the original version. Comparison time. So this is the Forbidden Planet version, as you can see, and of course we have the new B&M version. So straight off the bat you can notice the glossy black finish really does pop on the new version. I think possibly the original got it better with the sort of satin finish, and one thing I will say, what I do prefer about the original is the pupil size. I think the pupil size is a bit more correct on this. I think the pupil could be a little bit bigger on the Supreme Dalek, same with the drone Daleks. So if we take a look at the actual figures up close, you can see that this has more of a sort of trim around the dome light, which I think really helps accentuate the dome light and looks a little bit better. We've got the same sort of eye stalk detailing. This has more of a glossy black finish to the end of the eye stalk. The same neck bin section detailing, of course this has the raised neck bin section. And if we move down to the slats, this has been given a more of a reflective silver paint compared to the sort of more dull silver. So this, really does pop against the glossy black detailing. If we move down to the skirt section, you can see that this has the one fender base, where this has the double fender base, and of course has the lovely dry brushing detail. And of course the gun has been given the little flipper, which again really helps pop against the sort of black and white of this figure there. From the Supreme Dalek to the drone Dalek. So here we have the two drone variants, one with the silver mesh and the other with the grey mesh there. I believe that these two Daleks are based off the ones we see in Davros's laboratory, the ones where Davros wants to experiment or the sort of Dalek tissue with the Magellan virus. So yeah, let's take a look at these Daleks. So detail wise, we have this kind of lightish grey finish to them, and there's this wonderful sort of, I don't know if the camera will pick it up, there's this sort of pearlescence in the grey, which I hope the camera will pick up, but there is this sort of pearlescence to it. And I think a lot of people, this grey is under sort of contention whether it should be a little bit darker, the same sort of colour as the Death Zone Dalek. But I have to be honest, having done my research, and by research I mean watch Resurrection of the Daleks, I think the grey is completely fine. I think that the studio lighting really does vary, and I think that the grey for these seems accurate to what we see in the studio, especially on the Dalek ship really. And then on location there's a sort of bluish tint to them. Obviously we'll look at the original versions in a minute. But yeah, again we've got the nice sort of trim around the dome lights, again really does highlight that, and hopefully you can see that sort of shiny pearlescence in the grey. We've got the traditional Resurrection of a Dalek eye stalk there with a glossy black finish to the end, traditional mesh detailing, the raised neck bin section there, and of course we have the silver band going across the mesh, which is accurate because it only goes halfway across. And of course we have this lovely glossy black finish to the mesh and the trim of the lower end of the Dalek, which again is all very lovely. And of course we do have the glossy black circle there, which is all very lovely. And of course we have the little flipper detail there, which again really does pop against the grey of the Dalek. And of course we have the glossy black hemispheres against the grey there, and of course the lovely silver dry brushing on the fender. And then we have the other variant, which again, only difference of course is the mesh. So you can see the mesh detailing there in the sort of raw sculpted plastic. I can see a little scratch there, which is a little bit weird, but yeah, very nice. It would have been, just to sort of differentiate these Daleks even more, it would have been nice maybe to possibly see one with sort of the orange dome light, but I have to say these make for quite a nice little pair together, don't they, having these two together, and to have a little army, because it's great to have sort of a little army of Resurrection Daleks. So that is the Resurrection drones. So let's take a look at the other 80s Daleks next to these. Comparison of the drone Dalek. So I thought I'd start off with the Resurrection Daleks, and I'll do a complete grey Dalek comparison in a minute from the 80s. So this is the Forbidden Planet Resurrection drone, this is the Toys R Us one, and of course we have the B&M version. I think you can really see sort of the bluish hue of these Daleks, and I think they probably went a little bit overboard with the bluish hue of these Daleks, and I think it would have been lovely to have seen sort of the orange dome lights on one of these. And I think that comparing these to the new versions, I have to say the new Daleks are such an improvement. I think that they look more like the Resurrection drones we see in the programme. Of course, if we take a look at the side, the one thing what I do love about the Toys R Us Resurrection Dalek, it has this sort of little bit of silver on the plunger there, which I think really is popping. It would have been nice to possibly see that added to one of these as well, just to make it a bit more of a variant for people to pick up. But yeah, that is what they look like against the original Resurrection Daleks. And just for fun, here are some other Scarazian Grey Daleks, the Resurrection one, the Five Doctors one, the B&M Daleks, and then we have the Revelation Dalek there. I could have added the Remembrance Renegades, but I just thought these seem more fitting to sort of compare. But yeah, you can see sort of the differences in the greys. I think a lot of people were hoping that the grey would be the same colour as the Five Doctors one. But I have to say, I definitely love this sort of shade of grey for these drone Daleks, and it definitely seems like how they appear on screen to me. What are my concluding thoughts on the History of the Daleks set 18, Resurrection of the Daleks? Well, I really love it. I think that this is a great sort of modernisation of the Supreme Dalek, and I think it's great for people to finally experience this figure after only having one release and it being quite a rare and sought after figure. And it's always a Supreme Dalek I've always loved. Ever since getting the little corgi figure of it, it's great to sort of see this get a little update within the actual 5-inch figure line. And I love all the little updates they've done for it. And if we talk about the drone Daleks, I love them. I'm a sucker for grey Daleks. I just think they look like mini tanks, and I think these are no exception. I think the grey, I think's fine. I think that this looks exactly as they did in the studio footage, especially in the Dalek ships, and I really like them. I think that this is a much improvement over the Forbidden Planet versions. I think they went too far in the direction with the blue hue to them, whereas these just seem, you know, as they appeared in the story. In terms of the variants, which one do I prefer and would recommend? I think it's all down to personal preference. I personally think the one with the silver mesh seems more Resurrection Dalek to me than this one, but this one of course does appear in the story because, like I say, this is sort of based off the ones we see in Davros's laboratory. Maybe they could have made it a bit more of a variant, like I said, by adding the orange dome lights, or, you know, just for a bit of fun. This was really wishful thinking. I was hoping they could possibly use the Planet of the Daleks drone Dalek sort of dome sculpt and use sort of the little flip mechanism, so you could sort of recreate that scene where the Daleks lift their domes up. But yeah, we didn't get that. But you know what, I'm still happy with these, and I think because there are two variants, it gives you an excuse to army build, and you know, they look great next to your Supreme Dalek sort of flanking the Supreme Dalek, and yeah, they definitely do have a nice little shelf presence when all three are together. So thank you very much for watching this review. There'll be plenty more Doctor Who figure related content coming up in the near future, like my top 10 History of the Dalek sets, the classic edition, alongside my top 10 B&M figure packs and top 10 B&M TARDIS sets as well. So the B&M reviews videos haven't stopped, they're still coming, and of course we'll be getting the next wave of B&M figures, I assume, very soon. So thank you very much for watching this video, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.